Hi everyone, welcome to the beginning of the lecture material for mathematical statistics at first year level. I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you and also introduce myself. My name is Dr. Jocelyn Mazarra, and I will be the one who will be taking you for chapters 1, 4, and 5. So, what I want to start off by doing is I'm going to give you a few tips and then we're going to go give you an overview. And then, just a heads up, some of the videos are from the lecturer who taught this section last year. And I'm also going to add some videos of my own. So, just a heads up, you're going to hear two different voices. Sometimes it'll be her, and then sometimes it'll be me. But you should be able to follow. And if you have any questions, please post your questions on the discussion board, and then we'll be able to attend to any queries. So, without further ado, let's get started with the lecture material. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's fun because it is familiar work for a lot of you. So, yeah, let's get to it.
As promised, here are the few hints and tips that I wanted to highlight. So, the first thing I just want to emphasize is that you need to try to follow the weekly work schedule. In the study guide, we've already outlined what we want to cover every single week, the relevant sections. And then now, on the weekly work schedule on ClickUp, we will tell you which videos to watch in corresponding with which lecture. So try to follow it and try not to fall behind because it can become very difficult to catch up later. The second thing I also wanted to highlight, this is a tip that one of the students from last year shared with us. This is what she did. She was class rep and she did really well in the end. And she said what she did was she would read the textbook first and then watch the videos. And then that would help things, one, sink in. So it would get into your longer term memory and then would also give you a chance to understand better when we now explain the things that you may have found unclear in the notes. And then the next thing that I wanted to highlight is we want you to make your own notes. You are now in university and you are in charge of your studies. The lecturers are merely facilitators. So we are guiding you in the process of learning and we're providing you videos and any other additional resources as exactly that. Additional resources to your textbook. So, your main source material is your textbook, and we don't give slides, by the way. You're not going to receive them, but you do have them indirectly via the videos because now you actually get to pause and play as you please, and you can jot down the things that are important. So please make your own notes. And then that will lead me then to my fourth point. The videos, they are all pre-recorded and we're going to upload them onto YouTube and then the links will be there on ClickUp. So you will be able to now actually use those functionalities in YouTube that allow you to firstly pause a video if you need to spend more time on something. You'll be able to even fast forward a video if the pace is a little bit too slow for you, or you can even slow it down if the pace is a little bit too fast for you. So take advantage of those features. And then if you are still struggling with something or you need clarity about anything, please don't hesitate to post questions on the discussion board. We will respond to them, and even fellow students who know the answers will respond to you as well. And then lastly, this is something that students don't realize, especially at the beginning, while the work still seems easy. Um, the work is going to be familiar, especially chapters 1 and chapter 2 up until I think 2.3. I think when you hit Bayes' theorem now in about the fifth week, then that becomes new for most students. And then after that, the pace tends to be a lot quicker. The work is newer and the level of difficulty, it's going to be a bit harder naturally because it is new work. So don't be deceived. Keep up with the work. Don't slack and think that, okay, this module is easy, everything is going to be familiar because it's not. There are definitely going to be new things, and the pace picks up a lot, especially after week 5. So definitely use these next few weeks to settle in, figure things out and how you're going to do things. But don't forget to give this module the attention that it deserves. Remember, it is a 16 credit module. So that means there are a lot of hours that you're expected to put into this module in order to master the material. So this is just a heads up. And then as you're going to the work, make sure that you are doing well. Don't accept marks that are not passes. So I'm going to say at least 60% as your marks for everything, every assignment and assessment. Aim for at the very minimum 60. Ideally, I would say for 75. Aim for a distinction so that even if you miss it slightly, you will still be in the pass range. So don't aim for 50s because the moment you miss, now you end up struggling. And statistics tends to build on itself. So whatever you would have covered in the first chapter, it's going to be relevant in, let's say, the second one, and then that's relevant in the third one. And naturally, if you struggled with earlier work, it's going to come back and bite you because you'll probably struggle now to grasp things later. So aim high. If you see yourself getting marks below 60, reach out for help. The discussion board, the tutors, the consultation hours, take advantage of all the resources that you have. If you start seeing your marks falling below 60, but ideally, I would aim for 75 if I were you. Okay, so that's it. What I want to do now is just give you an overview of chapter one. So, like I mentioned, there are a number of videos, and I've indicated in the weekly work schedule which videos to watch when. And some of the videos are from last year. And you'll see that they tend to focus a lot on the theory. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more videos to do with just to give you some practice and give you some examples. But what I want to do right now is to give you an overview so that you can see how everything fits together and you can refer back to the summary as you go through the work so you can see why we're doing what we're doing. So, Chapter one is going to tackle statistics. What is it? And basically, stats is making sense of numbers. So if you think of this hypothetical example, suppose you work at some manufacturing plant that makes margarine, and then you measure the weights of different blocks. So this block, it's supposed to be 500 grams. That's what it says on the pack. But when you measure it, you get all this different variation. And that's just natural. In reality, you want exact amounts, but then there's going to be variation from maybe different sources. So you end up with this collection of data. And when you look at these numbers, they don't really tell you much. They're not really telling you a story. There's not a lot you can do with these raw figures if you just stare at them. So this is where statistics comes in. So if you combine data with statistics, you can derive deeper information, deeper insight. So when I say statistics, these are various tools that you're going to learn over the coming year. You'll be able to plot graphs, calculate averages and variances, different tools that you're going to use in order to be able to get information that can help you answer even questions like these, like, is the machine over or underfilling them in general? How bad is it? Does the machine need repair? What are the best settings? Does it need improvements? And this might be information that you can get through this data, but by applying statistics. So you can see once you have these statistics, you're going to have more information. You'll have a situation where you're more organized and your data becomes more understandable. So that is the power of statistics. So you'll see when you look at your study guide, that's what's going to guide you in terms of what you need to be able to master for each and every chapter. So you'll see one of the bullet points tells you need to just understand that there's two main branches of statistics, descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. WSC 111 is where you'll mainly cover your descriptive statistics. And then when you move to WST 121, you'll do more inferential statistics. So 111, especially chapter 1, is where you're going to do these descriptive statistics. And then the remaining chapters are foundational concepts that we're going to build on going forward. So when we say we want to describe data, we're saying that we want to get an explanation, an illustration, or a portrayal of that data to understand it better. How can we describe it, basically? And then this could be using graphs, or you can use these summaries like your sample mean or your sample variance. And this is what you're going to be looking at in chapter 1. And then on the inferential statistics, the objective is to infer. And by definition, to infer is to deduce or conclude something based on some evidence or reasoning. So you can think of it, in other words, you want to deduce, reason, make assumptions, and you're going to learn tools for that. You are going to be able to do a lot more to do with inferential statistics in the second semester. So let's move on then to the next overarching theme that you need to make sure you kind of grasp with chapter one. Okay, so watch out for these terms: descriptive statistics, inferential statistics, because you need to be able to just understand that there's two branches really. It's just being aware. That's important. And then you need to now also be able to understand that, well, rather, you need to understand that there are different kinds of data, and you need to be able to identify what kind of data you have, because the method that you're going to use to analyze the data depends on the type of data that you have. So this visual summary is to help you see now the different types of data. You're going to go into more detail, but you're going to see data. It's either categorical or qualitative or numerical or quantitative. That's the other term. So you have these two branches where you have categorical data, like the name says, it's to do with categories. So when you want to classify, let's say, male, female, or anything where you have groups basically. And then those groups can now further be divided into the kinds of groups. So you have groups where it's just like names. So you could have, oh, for example, maybe you guys, I don't know if all of you, some of you might be in res. So you could have in the class, I could classify you according to where you are staying. If you're staying in a university res, maybe you're staying in an arena or whichever res, or you're staying in private accommodation. So those are just groups, and there's no hierarchy in them. It's just separate groups. So this is like your nominal categorical data versus ordinal, where there might be an inherent order within the group. So, for example, if you have ratings, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, up to five, it means something if you have 1 star versus 2 star or 3 star. There's like an order from worst to best. And that order, you didn't have it in my previous example. So you have these two categories. So you're going to see in the videos, this is going to be touched on. And then we tend to focus more on the numerical branch throughout the whole module. Hey? You're going to see how much detail and emphasis goes here. So I want you to really pay special attention now. We're going to look at continuous and discrete data. And then the tools that you're going to use are going to be different. So remember, continuous is just numerical values, like your measurements of like someone's weight or height. And then for your discrete data, that's stuff that only takes on particular values, like exactly one, two, three, like the number of eggs maybe that a chicken has. It's not going to be 1.5 or 1.7. It's going to be like whole numbers, for example. That's just one example where you have specific values. But now, in this chapter one, what I want you to now look out for is now how can we study these further? And the way we do that is by looking at the representations in chapter one. So you're going to see if we focus now on that numerical branch. So I'm just going to go back. I've just taken this part here and we're going to just zoom in a little bit. And these are the things that you now need to watch out for in chapter one. I've also put up some page numbers so you know where each concept is. So under representation, you can either have numerical, visual, for both of them. So numerical are those like your mean, your average, your median, the things that you calculate. And then visual are like your histograms and your graphs. Those are things that you see and you can observe patterns and trends. So just pay attention to these are the different things you need to be able to master by the end of chapter one. And then you need to also, you'll see the different page numbers for each thing is there. And you'll see chapter 1.2 deals with your visual things. And then 1.3 will deal with your measures of location. So, like, where is the center of your data? So, these are the blue bullet points. And then chapter 1.4 deals with measures of spread, like how spread out is your data. That's what you want to measure. So, you see a lot of emphasis comes on this continuous side more so than the discrete. Um, but yeah, that's okay. I just want you to see the big picture. Not as much attention is given now on this branch because there's not that much you can do now when you have categories other than like frequency or proportion and bar graphs. So this brings me to the end of this. The take-home message is now that you have this overarching picture that I've drawn for you here, as you go through chapter one, see how everything ties in. I think, especially this previous slide, I think this is really basically the summary of chapter one. So, especially if it's not familiar or it's new to you, then this is to help you see how everything fits in together. And at the end of the day, hopefully it's going to make sense because sometimes the book brings in a lot of ideas and it's not always clear how they link together. So, you can refer back to the summary and the one on the previous page here so you can see why are you doing what you're doing and where does it fit in. So this brings me to the end of my little summary. Hopefully it's going to help you just navigate and find your way around. And like I said, I know for most of you this is going to be familiar, so feel free to just play the videos maybe at a higher speed just to make sure that what's covered is stuff that you actually do know. So don't assume you already know it in case it's slightly different in this module. But otherwise, I really hope you enjoy this. And like I said, you're going to see videos. I tend to like this theme, so this is going to be me. When you see this theme, it's probably going to be my videos, and then you'll be able to tell the other lady's voice. And just communicate with me if you want maybe help with anything or me to expand on anything, and let me know. Okay? The only way I can help you is if you let me know what you need and how I can help, then I am here for you. Otherwise, I'm really looking forward to the semester. I hope you are too, and I wish you all the best.